You know what's crazy? Last Tuesday, I watched someone order a $40 dinner without thinking twice about it. Decent restaurant, nothing fancy, just a regular Tuesday night. And here's what hit me. That person has no idea they just spent $100,000. Now, before you think I've completely lost it, let me explain something that's going to completely change how you think about money. My name is Ron, and I spend way too much time thinking about the invisible ways we leak money. If you're someone who feels like you make decent money but can't figure out where it all goes, or you're confused why your bank account looks the same at 35 as it did at 25, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Because what I'm about to show you isn't some lecture about cutting out lattes or meal prepping. This is about understanding something way more important, the actual cost of your recurring spending habits. So let's go back to that $40 dinner. Here's what most people think. It's 40 bucks. I work hard. I deserve to eat out. What's the big deal? And look, I'm not here to tell you to never enjoy your life, but here's what most people don't realize. You're not actually spending $40. You're spending what that $40 would become if you invested it instead. Let me show you the math, because this is where it gets really interesting. If you invest $40 in a basic index fund averaging 10% annual returns, which is roughly what the S&P 500 has done historically, that $40 becomes $465 in 25 years. One dinner, $465. Now you might be thinking, okay, Ron, that's interesting, but we're talking about hundreds of dollars, not 100,000. Here's the thing though, it's never just one dinner, is it? Let's say you go out to eat twice a week. Nothing crazy. Tuesday dinner, Friday night. Two $40 meals. That's $80 a week, $320 a month, $3,840 a year. Stay with me here because this number is about to get uncomfortable. $3,840 a year for 25 years invested at 10% annual returns becomes $376,000. But wait, we're still not at $100,000 for that single Tuesday dinner, right? That's because I haven't told you about the sneakiest part yet. That Tuesday dinner isn't happening in a vacuum. See, when you're 25 or 30 years old, every dollar you don't invest has the maximum amount of time to grow. The Tuesday dinner you have when you're 30 doesn't cost you $40. It costs you what that $40 would become by the time you're 65. So let's get specific. You are 30 years old. You go out for that $40 dinner on a random Tuesday. If you had invested that $40 instead, by age 65, 35 years of compound growth at 10%, that single meal costs you $1,127. One dinner, over $1,000 in future money. But here's where it gets absolutely wild, and this is the number that made me rethink everything. Let's say you start this habit at 30. Two dinners a week at $40 each. You keep this habit for just 10 years from age 30 to 40. Then you stop completely. Those 10 years of dinners, $38,400 total spent, could have grown to $1.1 million by the time you're 65. $1.1 million. Now let's say you continue that habit from 30 to 65. 35 years of two dinners a week at $40 each. You've spent $134,400 over those years. But the opportunity cost, what you could have had if you'd invested that money instead, is $3.1 million. So when I say that one $40 dinner costs you $100,000, I'm actually being conservative, because it's never just one dinner, is it? It's the pattern, it's the habit, it's the lifestyle. Here's what makes this so dangerous. Eating out doesn't feel like a financial decision. It feels like a life decision. You're tired, you don't want to cook, your friends are going out, it's someone's birthday, it's Tuesday. We've separated these recurring expenses from our concept of real financial decisions. When you're deciding whether to buy a $3,000 couch, you deliberate, you compare prices, you sleep on it. But when you're deciding whether to order Chipotle for the third time this week, that's not a financial decision in your brain, that's just dinner. And look, I get it. I used to do this too. I made good money, and I remember thinking, what's the point of earning if I can't enjoy it? But here's the shift that changed everything for me. You're not choosing between enjoying life and being miserable. You're choosing between enjoying $40 today and enjoying $1,000 in the future. You're choosing between the dopamine hit of convenience right now and the freedom of having real wealth later. Now, you might be thinking, Ron, you can't take it with you. What if I die before 65? Should I just eat rice and beans my whole life? Fair question. And no, obviously not. But here's what most people miss. This isn't about deprivation. This is about consciousness. There's this thing that happens when you start earning more money. Let's say you get a raise from $60,000 to $80,000 a year. That's an extra $20,000. After taxes, maybe you're taking home an extra $1,200 a month. You know what happens to most people? They start eating out more, they upgrade their car, they move to a nicer apartment, they convince themselves they've earned it. And technically, they have. But here's the brutal truth. That $1,200 a month invested for 30 years at 10% returns becomes $2.3 million. Most people get raises and immediately inflate their lifestyle to match their income. They never build wealth because every dollar they earn gets spent maintaining a lifestyle that feels normal but is actually incredibly expensive. I call this the awareness trap. You're aware enough to know you should be doing better financially, but not aware enough to see the invisible leaks, the $40 dinners, the $150 monthly subscriptions you forgot about, the $80 Uber rides because you didn't want to plan ahead, the $50 impulse Amazon purchases that seem small in isolation. Now look, I know whenever someone talks about this stuff, somebody always brings up the Starbucks fallacy. They say, oh, so you're one of those people who thinks I should give up my daily coffee and be a millionaire? Here's the thing, yes and no. If you spend $6 a day on coffee 5 days a week, that's $1,560 a year. Over 30 years invested at 10%, that's $271,000. But the coffee isn't really the problem. The problem is that coffee is never just coffee. It's coffee plus the breakfast sandwich, plus the afternoon coffee, plus the weekend drinks, plus eating out because you're too tired to cook after work, plus the delivery fees, plus the tip. It's the entire ecosystem of convenience spending that treats every day like a special occasion. And here's what makes it so insidious. Each individual purchase feels completely reasonable. $40 for dinner? That's not even expensive anymore. That's mid-range. You can easily spend $60, $80, $100 at a restaurant now. But when you add up all those reasonable purchases, you've got a lifestyle that costs $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a year just in discretionary spending, money that evaporates without building anything. You want to know why some people who make $80,000 a year retire with millions, while others who make $150,000 barely have anything? It's not income. It's this. It's the difference between someone who consciously decides how to spend their money and someone who just spends. I know people making $60,000 who will retire with more money than people making $200,000. And it's not because they live miserable lives eating ramen in their parents' basement. It's because they made different decisions about recurring expenses. Here's a study that completely changed how I think about this. Researchers at the University of Chicago found that people dramatically underestimate how much they spend on recurring expenses by an average of 40%. 40%. You think you spend $300 a month eating out. You actually spend $420. You think you spend $100 on entertainment. You actually spend $140. These invisible leaks add up to thousands of dollars a year. And remember, we're not talking about thousands of dollars. We're talking about hundreds of thousands in future wealth. So let me give you the framework I use now, and this has completely changed my relationship with money. Every recurring expense has a multiplier. Here's what I mean. If you're 25 years old and you have 40 years until retirement, every dollar you spend on recurring expenses has a 40-year multiplier at 10% returns. That means every dollar costs you $45 in future money. At 30 years old, with 35 years to retirement, every dollar costs you $28. At 40 years old, with 25 years to retirement, every dollar costs you $10.80. So when I'm deciding whether to sign up for another subscription service at $15 a month, I'm not asking myself, can I afford $15? I'm asking myself, is this worth $5,000? Because that's what $15 a month for 25 years becomes. When I'm deciding whether to order delivery instead of cooking, I'm not asking, do I feel like cooking? I'm asking, is the convenience of not cooking right now worth $1,000 in future money? Now, you might be thinking this sounds exhausting, and when I first started doing it, it kind of was. But here's what happens. After a while, it becomes automatic. You start naturally filtering decisions through this lens. Here's the other thing nobody warns you about. Lifestyle changes are almost impossible to reverse. It's called the lifestyle ratchet. Once you get used to eating out regularly, going back to cooking feels like deprivation. Once you get used to taking Ubers everywhere, public transit feels beneath you. Once you upgrade to a luxury apartment, downgrading feels like failure. Your expectations ratchet up with your spending, and suddenly you've built a lifestyle that requires every dollar you make just to maintain. I see this all the time with people who make raises. They immediately increase their spending to match their new income, and then they're stuck. They can't take a pay cut to try a new career, they can't take time off, they can't invest aggressively because they need every paycheck to maintain the lifestyle they've built. They become trapped by their own success. So, what's the alternative? How do you actually live life while also building wealth? Here's what I do now, and this is what I wish someone had told me 10 years ago. First, I track everything for 1 month. Every single dollar. Not to judge it, just to see it. Most people have no idea where their money goes. You can't fix what you can't see. Second, I identify recurring expenses and multiply them. That $40 weekly dinner becomes $83,000 over 25 years. That $150 monthly car payments becomes $76,000. That $200 monthly lifestyle inflation becomes $102,000. Third, and this is the key, I don't try to cut everything. I consciously choose what's worth it. Maybe eating out with friends twice a month is genuinely valuable to you. Fine, keep it. But cancel the random Tuesday night deliveries that you barely remember. Maybe that $15 monthly subscription brings you real joy. Keep it, but cancel the 4 other subscriptions you signed up for and forgot about. The goal isn't deprivation. The goal is consciousness. You know what wealthy people do differently? They treat every recurring expense as a major financial decision. They're not more disciplined, they're not smarter, they just see the real cost. When someone making $300,000 a year still packs lunch and brings coffee from home, people think they're cheap. They're not cheap. They understand that the $20 daily lunch cost them $104,000 over 20 years. When someone successful drives a 10-year-old car, people think they're out of touch. They're not out of touch. They understand that the $800 monthly luxury car payment cost them $408,000 over 20 years. They're making the same decision you are, they're just seeing the full price tag. So here's what you do this week, not eventually, this week. Step 1, pull up your bank statements for the last month. Actually do this, don't just nod along, pull them up. Step 2, highlight every recurring expense. Subscriptions, regular dining out, weekly convenience purchases, everything you spend money on more than once. Step 3, add it up. What do you spend monthly on recurring convenience? Not bills, not necessities, recurring convenience. Step 4, multiply that number by 200. That's roughly what that monthly expense costs you in future wealth over 25 years at 10% returns. For most people, this number is absolutely shocking, like, holy shit, I had no idea, shocking. Step 5, choose 3 recurring expenses to eliminate. Not reduce, eliminate. Cancel the subscriptions you don't use. Commit to cooking instead of ordering out on specific days. Take public transit instead of Uber. For 3 months, invest what you would have spent. Actually transfer it to an investment account the moment you feel tempted to spend it. After 3 months, check your account. See the money growing. Feel the psychological shift. Because here's what really happens when you do this. It's not actually about the money. I mean, it is, but it's not. It's about reclaiming control. When you're unconsciously spending on convenience, you're outsourcing your decisions to your lowest impulse self. Tired? Order food. Bored? Buy something. Stressed? Treat yourself. But when you start making conscious decisions, something changes. You're not being controlled by habits, you're directing your life. And yes, you'll have way more money, obviously, but you'll also have something more valuable. You'll know that your financial future isn't an accident. It's not luck, it's not timing, it's a series of decisions you made consciously. That $40 dinner, it's not just $40. It's not even just $1,000 in future money. It's a choice about who you want to be and what you want your life to look like. Look, I'm not telling you to never enjoy your money. I'm telling you to understand what enjoyment actually costs. Because that's the thing nobody explains. Financial freedom doesn't come from earning more. It comes from understanding the exponential cost of recurring convenience. The difference between someone who retires at 45 and someone who works until 70 isn't usually income. It's this. It's whether they saw the real price tag on that Tuesday night dinner. So the next time you're about to order delivery or sign up for another subscription or make another small recurring purchase, ask yourself, is this worth the real cost? Not the $40, the $100,000. If you found this helpful, hit that subscribe button. Drop a comment and let me know what recurring expense you're cutting this week. Thanks for watching. Now go look at your bank statement. Seriously, do it.